So there's this phrase, impostor syndrome. It's something that you hear a lot in the corporate world. And most times when they say it, I'm like, yeah. I don't usually stay on it. I'm like, whatever, you know. Yeah. But lately, that phrase has been hitting my head hard, seriously. And I began to like, okay, should I think about it? Should I look into it? Should I bother with it? And you'll be surprised that when I think about imposter syndrome, I'm not even thinking about my career, my professional career. I'm thinking about imposter syndrome with regards to my work with infertility and how did it start. That's what we're going to talk about today. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening in on my podcast or whatever you want to call it. But I'm here anyway. And today I want to talk about imposter syndrome. And why am I talking about imposter syndrome? So after my last episode where I talked about broken connection with God, you find it in my channel if you decide to watch it. Even my take on Tehillah also. At the end of the day, the two movies, the female lead, they all had their children. In Tehillah, she had a child and got pregnant for another one. In Broken Hallelujah, she had a triplet, I believe. Yes, she did. And she was pregnant for the fourth child. So in both cases, I'm telling a story about women who went through infertility, walked through infertility, and came out with pregnancy. And then I began to ask myself, so what's your story? Why would anybody want to listen to you? What's your ending? So what advice are you giving to people? What encouragement are you giving to people? You don't have a story. So that has been hitting my head. And then when I began thinking about it and I realized, oh, this is actually what imposter syndrome means. This is the whole phenomenon. I'm thinking I'm not qualified to talk about infertility. I'm thinking in my head that I'm a fraud. Why would anybody want to listen to me? You know? And even now, as I'm making this video, I don't have my thoughts together, how to share it or what to share. But the only thing I know is now I understand when people in the corporate world begin to talk about imposter syndrome, where you belittle yourself, even when you think one part of yourself is telling you, you can do this job, you have the quality or the qualification to do great in this job, but something is holding you back. Because somehow, you think you're not qualified. Let's take it one step at a time. I'm going to read from Google what I found on imposter syndrome, and then maybe you begin to understand where I'm coming from. So the first thing I see is from Wikipedia. It says, imposter syndrome, also known as imposter phenomenon or impostorism, is a psychological experience in which a person suffers from feelings of intellectual and or professional fraudulence. Feelings. The key word there is feeling. It does not necessarily say you don't have the qualification, but it says you feel you don't have the qualification. It says you feel you are a fraud, like you're lying, you're projecting yourself to be what you are not. So that's a feeling. Hold that thought there, the feeling. So I go on and I read something else from WebMD. By the way, my husband likes WebMD. And it says, imposter syndrome is when you doubt your own skills and successes. You feel you are not as talented or worthy as others believe. And you're scared that one day people will realize that. Although it's not a mental health diagnosis, imposter syndrome can cause real harm in different areas of your life. Anyway, It's not causing any harm in my life. But what I just want to point out here is that my two last episodes started making me feel like I don't have this together. It started making me feel that I don't have the qualification to talk about infertility, only because I do not yet have my own biological child to show for walking through infertility, or to show the show that I walked through infertility and then I have a child to show for it. So I'm not doubting this whole thing I decided to start. I'm not doubting my skills, my successes, my story. Maybe, who knows, maybe there are people also watching me who feel that I do not qualify to talk about infertility just because I did not walk through it and have an evidence to show. People like testimonies. People like tangible testimonies. People like to hear testimonies and like, oh, after through this is. So when you do not have that tangible testimony that people can hold on to, you begin to feel that your testimonies are not valid or your own work is not valid. I refuse to be boxed into a corner. And I'm going to tell my story. It is my story. I don't need anybody to validate it. It is my work. Everybody's work is different. This is my own work. My work might not get to the point where I show a biological child that came out from my womb. But that does not also mean that I did not pass through these feelings of inadequacy, these feelings of shame, these feelings of failure, these feelings of little wins. No, I passed through them. Yes, at the end of the day, my story, my testimony might not be perceived to be what people want it to be, but I passed through this journey. I walked through it. It's my work. I can say it. I can stand it. I can declare it. This is my work. And this work, I will share the story because it is my work. It's not other person's own. And I'm not apologizing that my testimony does not conform to the expectations of other people. But I have a testimony. My testimony is this, that I have cried and wiped my tears. My testimony is this, that I've been able to, through my story, been able to be a comfort or an encourager to other people who might also be passing through this. That's my testimony. My testimony is that every morning I wake up and look for something to do with myself. My testimony is that every day I wake up and I see a day that sings of joy, peace, happiness, love. That's my testimony. And I'm going to continue to amplify this testimony, whether it conforms to the expectations of every other person. I don't care. I will continue to share my story. I'm going to continue to share my work. I don't need to conform. No. And it's my skill. It's my work. It's my story. I know I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, but I just want to emphasize this, that this is my story. Impostor syndrome or not, whether you like it or not. Juliet Chinwe Imo, this is your story and you've got this. Stop. Don't push that thought out of your head. I don't need to conform. There are women out there, seriously, who are probably 60 years now, who walked through this life without having their own biological children, but they have raised men and women directly or indirectly who call them mother. It's their story. And they still wake up every morning sowing seeds of happiness, sowing seeds of joy, sowing seeds of encouragement into lives. It's their story. So don't let anybody make you feel incomplete just because your story does not conform to their expectations. Am I ranting? I don't know. But I just wanted to push this thought. I am qualified to talk and to share my story, and that I will do unapologetically. I am sharing my story. Thank you.